What is up, YouTube? Back with another little episode on another Gothic day. It might rain again over here. It's picking up. You might hear some rumblings of thunder. I don't know. But this one is about reading one of Josh's books. In the picture, you could see on the left, Satan's Breakfast Burger. And just behind it, you see an old, used, worn book. That book is The Magic Power of Witchcraft by Gavin Frost and Yvonne Frost. I decided to pick it up. I grabbed it off Amazon just to see, what Josh would be reading. Now, most people would probably assume that Josh hasn't read anything ever, and this is a fair hypothesis. His book, however, does look very well worn, so, you could guess that he's at least read some of this book. Now, someone could say, well, what if it was given to him by Damien, or I think that was the guy's name from that, sex cult that Stephanie ended up joining, that witch coven. This is another good point, very fair. Maybe it was given to him and it just said ash, grease. But I'm going to share a couple of passages that I think prove Josh read at least some of this book. From what I've read of it, it seems that Josh may have stopped reading the book about 52 pages in, and this book has 203 pages. Now, I've noted a bunch of little things that are not just fun to look at from the perspective of Josh reading them and incorporating them or completely failing to incorporate them into his life. But in this episode, I'm just going to go over little nuggets that have come up in KingCobraJFS videos. In another video, I may go through some of the things that are in this book that he does wrong, or some things that, if he read them, may have benefited him. So that's a possibility of a follow-up. I'm not too sure if I really want to do that, though. Okay, let's get into it. Also, as a teaser, one thing in the section that he may have read but failed to incorporate into his Gothic warlock worldview is related to wand making. On page 23, it says, quote, "As always in magical work, the tools that you make with your own hands are the ones that will bring the best results," unquote. This seems to suggest that buying a wand made from someone else may not yield the best results. Josh should instead be teaching others how to make wands for themselves instead of selling Cobra Craft wands. But that's just an example of the type of thing that's in here that it's obviously didn't, stick with Josh, or he didn't, incorporate it into his life. So, what has Josh likely read? Here's a passage on page 8 in the introduction. Let me get to there. You can hear the book. ASMR. All right. Page 8, quote, "In reading these words, you will learn many of the ancient occult secrets of the witches. This will cause within you what Indian mystics have called the opening of the chakras, that is, your psychic centers. What the gurus really meant by this phrase was that the very act of learning about the occult starts it working for you. The very act of learning about the occult starts it working for you. After you have practiced the affirmations which begin each of these chapters, when you get into a difficult situation, you will find that there is hardly any need to make an effort to consciously remember the affirmations. The power will be in you, and you will automatically gain the desired end that will change your life. Once you have put out a thought form, it will work. It will not matter that you are fast asleep or otherwise engaged. The thought form will still do your work, even though you no longer are actively paying attention to it. This can be applied in ways that you have not dreamed of. When you set out for a shopping trip, for example, are you going to waste time looking for a parking space? Our friends don't. Using their witchcraft power, they can always mentally reserve a convenient spot. One day in New York, our friend Verna thought that she had made a mistake in her thought form, for the only parking spot she could find was around the block from her destination. But her magic had not failed her. The storefront collapsed as she approached. If she had gotten a spot where she intended, both she and the car would have been wiped out. You will come to find that you can do these simple things almost without thinking. They become second nature. Influencing other people and ruling your own body is far easier than moving physical objects around. Recently, a taxi driver shortchanged me $10. Nothing was simpler than to make him hit the road divider as he drove away. Then, while he ruefully surveyed his bent fender, I got my $10 back, unquote. Fuck, I got into a car crash. All right, so that's one little example of something that I think Josh may have read. Where did we leave off? Here's another passage on pages 18 to 19. All right, let me get there. 18, 19. This is under a section called A Child's Spell for Good Weather. I am sure you have often heard a child reciting this little jingle. Rain, rain, go away. Come again another day. Little Janice wants to play. This is a very good and complete spell. The object is clear. Rain, go away. The reason is clear too. Little Janice wants to play. It is properly closed down by the line, come again another day. If this line were left out and Janice had raised the right emotional impact through her jingle and its accompanying body motions, it would be logical to expect a prolonged drought. This, of course, is the precise reason for much of the violent weather we experience. If there's a wet spring, everyone prays for a drought. The drought comes, then everyone prays for rain, and we have a wet fall. The rain does not have any options. It is being controlled by the power raised by all these millions of people through their irrational prayers. And then another section comes up called Basic Spell Casting. At the beginning of each chapter in this witch book, you will find affirmations and phrases to be used in rituals. When you use one of these phrases, do it in a powerful, explosive manner. For instance, if you want money, use the following rhyme. Money, money, come to me. Money, come to me today. As I will, so mote it be. So I think Josh may have gotten that from there. All right. Let's see. On to the next one on page 32. So we're getting near the end of what Josh has likely read. This is under a section called Feel Your Own Power. When you next stand in line at the supermarket, look down the line and find someone who is daydreaming. Put out the thought, look around. When you do this regularly, you will find that more and more often the person whom you are attempting to reach will in fact be affected and will turn around to stare at you, unquote. So this reminds me of Cobra being asked not to stare at people. It also makes me think that the framework of this passage has sort of stuck in Josh's mind, but he has now substituted magical mind powers with Bond Tactical Soap. Use coupon code COOLTASTE for 10% off. Now, the magical pheromone soap causes others to notice Josh and be intrigued by him, much as, in the book, just the putting out the thought form of this psychic power does it. Now he uses this magical sort of charm, like a potion in bar form, Bond. And, it's black, so it's goth. On page 41, there's a small section here. Quote, Mabel, which is someone's name, Mabelle. So Mabel, a hairdresser friend of ours in California, practiced with her powers by making candle flames change color. Her dream was to retire to a modest but self-sustaining ranch somewhere in the beautiful pine forests of Oregon. As she saw her own inner power change the candle flame from yellow to blue and back again, then perhaps to rose pink, she gradually gained confidence in her abilities, unquote. The ranch that Mabel wants sort of reminds us of Josh's dream house. He doesn't try to achieve it, but instead constantly seems to mentally cause the dream house to happen by imagining it and believing in it. Also, the changing color of the flame calls to mind Josh's chi balls, and his eyes supposedly changing color when he gets mad or casts a spell. The dream house projection type of stuff is mentioned again a few pages later on page 46. Quote, perhaps you want a pleasant retirement home, yet today you have no money and little chance of a pension. The prospects look bleak. It is better to cut out a picture of the type of home you eventually want and to picture yourself owning the house and living in it than to attempt to get a raise in salary by using your power, unquote. So not only did Josh, on the subreddit, I'm pretty sure there's, when he was in Clint's house in the Green Cobra basement, he showed a drawing of his house that looked kind of like PS 118 from Hey Arnold, but with Big Ben on the top. So he, drew it, as in this quote, like take a picture of it. And I like how they just say it's better to just imagine the house than attempting to get a raise using your power. Like, use your powers to project this goal instead of using it to get a raise I don't understand why. Because they also just talk about getting job promotions in this book. It's very silly. So it seems, yeah, Josh, he fully ingrained this. He's like just talking about it, not even trying to make an attempt to get a raise, let alone a salary. But, okay. So we're very near the end of Josh's reading. I'm going to go to page 51. This is under a heading called Influencing Objects. Quote, you can use your ability in 2 ways. First, to telepathically influence others. And second, to do such simple things as moving a needle around on water or making a magnetic compass needle move. These are the first steps towards the actual physical influencing of objects. Well-known cases of tremendous influence over the physical world are scientifically documented. We have mentioned that Uri Geller can melt the end off of a spoon. In Russia, Nelia Mikhailova, a resistance fighter in Leningrad, and now a gray-haired grandmother, can move objects weighing as much as 2 pounds by merely concentrating on them. This ability is called psychokinesis, and it is an ability that you may have. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that you have. Its uses are many and varied. They range, for instance, from making dice fall the way you want to flattening the garbage man's tires the next time his clatter wakes you up in the morning, unquote. In the Trapped documentary, there's a section of him talking about being in the quiet room at Job Corps, which I guess the quiet room is where you would make phone calls and do homework on computers, or apparently. I mean, I know in like psychiatric hospitals, there's the quiet room, which is where they inject you with booty juice and throw you until you're quiet. But yeah, he's talking about how he just moved something on a desk, and he's like, "Oh, holy shit, I did that!" Yes, something like that. What else came up in here? Oh, then of course the Wendy's days, like making the ice machine rumble when he's like on a break sitting at a table in the area that he had to clean. You know what I'm saying. Anyways, on to what seems to be the last page that Josh read in this book, page 52. And this is the best one, probably. It's one of the things Josh is most known for. Well, here, let's just get into it. It's under a section called Verna and the Traffic Lights. Verna, a San Francisco housewife, decided that she wanted to take a job. Her husband agreed to this proposition, but was most specific that his meals should not be disturbed. This was not the usual male chauvinist demand because he did in fact require a special diet. Part of the reason that Verna wished to take a job was to pay for some of the medical expenses that the family had incurred in his behalf. Living in San Francisco and commuting to work meant many traffic signal stops. Verna found a job, but also found that the traffic lights only seemed to be against her, especially when she was in a hurry. She had read a great deal about various experiments on influencing inanimate objects with the mind and decided that she had an ideal opportunity and requirement to affect those annoying traffic lights in her favor. Gradually, she found that she could in fact influence them through psychokinesis. One day, while she and Bill were on a trip, she decided to show him how she did it. They were driving into the outskirts of Los Angeles when she started her demonstration. An alert highway patrolman noted something very odd happening to the normally well-regulated lights, and he pulled their car over. After a long and somewhat fruitless discussion, he took Bill, Verna, and the car into a highway patrol garage in an attempt to find the electronic gizmo he knew must be hidden in the car. Needless to say, a couple of hours later, a set of baffled highway patrol officers were most apologetic to Verna and Bill, unquote. So, this is the King Cobra using the wand to change traffic lights and getting stopped by the cops for using his magical powers. That's a double whammy right there. And I want to say that seems to come up the most, and they're also the most believable. I can see Josh getting stopped by cops. I mean, by now they know him, but they probably stopped him in the past, just saying, like, what are you doing? You look insane. You're carrying a big stick. So there's that. I kind of lost my train of thought, but I think anyone who's watched enough Cobra can put the pieces together in their mind. Yeah. So let's see. Let's take a look. Now, I'm just going to say a little bit about the book. It's an old crappy book. It cost $3.95 back in the day, and let's just see if I can give you a little. Published in New York. Let's look for like a cut. By 1976 is the copyright date, and I guess this is the fourth printing that I have that was from 1980. 1980. So, yeah, just a little interesting stuff there. Josh did have another book. You can kind of see it in the image I have here. It's something, I forget. I have it in my another room here, but it's like how to use. It's literally how to like make potions and stuff, and it's very stupid. And I don't think he read anything out of that. I flipped through it a couple times, and nothing really stands out to me. And then he's got that like a big white book. I don't know. I think I tried. I can't make out what it is or something. Now you can also get a glance of these books in a bite-sized video. It's one of the cooking videos. I think it's the pizza pie, where he takes a pie crust and tries to make like a pizza pie. You can get another glimpse of this book in the same arrangement as you see in this, but from the tops, if you just want to further confirm that I have the right book, but whatever. All right, well, there you have it, tubes. Doesn't get much more goth than that. Thanks for listening, and I think now that we know a little something, let's just try to cast a little spell for Gothic King Cobra. I have my wand. I made it myself. I didn't order it from Gothic King Cobra, Cobra Craft Wands, because as we learned, it's better to use what you make yourself. All right, so here we go. May Gothic King Cobra JFS, he who tells it like it is, achieve his goal of living in his dream house where he can smoke cannabis in the clock tower. So mote it be in the witch's circle.